Hello, faithful, and welcome to the 49ers Plus podcast. I'm Al Moriello, and this is your source for the most objective 49ers discussion and analysis, plus no hot takes or clickbait. And today, with training camp kicking off, we're going to be discussing training camp battles, and there are many up and down the roster. We'll start with the offense, where there's battles at running back, tight end, left guard, and wide receiver. Then we'll transition over to defense, where there's one at every level: DN, D-tackle, linebacker, cornerback, safety, and oh yeah, special teams, punt return, and kicker. So let's jump right into it. Niners veterans reported today. I'm recording this on July 22nd. Rookies reported last week. Not all that much to report, as they were just in the weight room and getting acclimated to the playbook. There will be practices this week, a bunch open to the public going from this week, next week, and into August before their first preseason game. But I wanted to take the time and go through some positional roster battles. And instead of either going to training camp or reading from your favorite beat reporters or content creators who are at training camp what's happening, I'll just tell you now how everything's going to play out. And let's start out at running back. Quarterback, there's no battle. Matt Jones is the backup. Tanner Mordecai isn't going to challenge him. Obviously, Brock Purdy is cemented as a starter, and Curtis Rourke's going to start the season on IR. Per Kyle Shanahan's press conference today with John Lynch, he probably won't be ready till midseason. He will be on IR all year. So running back 3 is the first battle on offense that I want to mention. Obviously, McCaffrey is your starter. And Isaac Rendo is your number 2. There's no battle for the backup spot behind Christian McCaffrey. I don't care how good someone like a Jordan James looks. Isaac Rendo showed a lot, and showed enough, at least to me, for whoever I am, that does need a little bit to work on his vision. You can't teach speed. He has that. Pass protection improved throughout the course of the season, especially when he got more reps once Jordan Mason went down, I think 12 games into the season, and showed better hands than I think any of us thought that he had. He is running back 2, but the running back 3 battle is between Jordan James, the rookie 5th round pick out of Oregon, Patrick Taylor, Corey Kiner, undrafted rookie out of Cincinnati, and Israel Abanikanda on the practice squad last year. Or actually was put on the active roster, signed from the Jets practice squad end of last season. He's currently on the 90-man roster. Jordan James, strong, compact runner out of Oregon, drew comparisons to Frank Gore, around the same size, 5'9", 5'10", 205, 210 pounds, always falling forward, productive career at Oregon. Now, Patrick Taylor, holdover from last year, I was on record calling him a jag, just a guy midway through the season. And that's kind of what he was, as someone who started out as the number 4 running back and then became the number 3, and then was the lead running back last week of the season, week 18 at Arizona, when he went over 100 yards. Corey Kiner out of Cincinnati, a productive career for the Bearcats. Undrafted rookie free agent. We know that Kyle and his dad, when Mike Shanahan was coaching the Broncos in the 90s, have found gems as an undrafted rookie free agent. So Corey Kiner is someone to keep an eye on. And Israel Abanikanda, probably destined for the practice squad. Although if I do maintain, if he was drafted in the 7th round or an undrafted rookie free agent this year, people would be salivating all over him because he would be one of the shiny new toys. But I think when it's all said and done, Patrick Taylor becomes running back 3 and Jordan James becomes running back 4. And here's why. We're going to assume the Niners running back core stays relatively healthy this year. I know it's a huge assumption, especially with McCaffrey coming off of not only the Achilles bilateral tendonitis, but the sprained knee that kept him out for whatever it was, the last 4, 5, 6 games of the season. But if the Niners running back top 2 are healthy, then there's really nothing for running back 3 to do than to be a special teams player. And Patrick Taylor has proven that he can do that. Not to say Jordan James can't, or that he shows out in camp that he can perform on special teams. But we've heard from Kyle and he's true to his word when he says this is essentially a one running back team. We saw it last season and half of the season before McCaffrey came over from the trade. It's essentially Christian McCaffrey 90 to 95% of the time. When McCaffrey went down in training camp, it was Jordan Mason 90 to 95% of the time. When he went down, it was Isaac Guerendo 90 to 95% of the time. There is no timeshare situation in the running back room like there was in 2017, 18, 19, or even 20, when the Niners had Matt Breida and they tried Jerick McKinnon before he got hurt and he eventually came back, and Jeff Wilson and Tevin Coleman. That is not the team now. So even to say that the Niners have a 1-2 punch of Christian McCaffrey and Isaac Guerendo isn't true. I would like to see Isaac Guerendo get between 5 and 8 carries, 5 to 10 touches per game. And they need to control Christian McCaffrey and get him out of the game when he's winded, or if it's a game that the Niners seem to have well in hand. I don't think that having a rookie running back as running back 3, who would be the running back active on game days, is something that Kyle Shanahan would ultimately feel comfortable with, even though today in his press conference, he said, rookie or veteran, the best player is going to play. Well, that is true when it's 2017 and 18 and 19, and the Niners were a glorified expansion team. Now, no one saw them going to the Super Bowl in 2019, coming off of a 4-12 season in 2018. That's why Debo got a lot of play and Dre Greenlaw got play. And obviously you're going to start Nick Bosa as the number 2 overall pick. And there are opportunities for young players. I'm not saying that there aren't. First rookies, second year players to step up. But I think the running back group, and I think they're going to carry 4, and why it's McCaffrey, Guerendo, Patrick Taylor, and Jordan James, and not Corey Kiner, which a lot of people are high on, instead of Patrick Taylor, is I can't imagine a universe in where Kyle Shanahan is comfortable with Christian McCaffrey, a second-year running back in Guerendo, and then 2 rookies in Jordan James and Corey Kiner. Patrick Taylor gives them a bit more veteran knowledge and stability. James will be on the roster. Now, this is to start the season. Is there anything saying that into October or November, Jordan James supplants Patrick Taylor? And that's going to be the mantra as I go through these position groups and position battles. This is a to start the season situation. James and Taylor will make the roster behind McCaffrey and Guerendo, but I can see Patrick Taylor being the number 3 and active on game days, and Jordan James, at least for the beginning of the season, being inactive until he pushes for playing time based on familiarity with the system, the scheme, pass protection, special teams, everything that's going to be needed of a number 3 running back. Now, if an injury happens to somebody, then obviously everything cascades forward one, but assuming good health, those are the 4 running backs in order. Now, tight end 3, it's behind George Kittle and Luke Farrell. You have Ross Dwelly, Jake Tonjes, Braden Willis, and Mason Pline, second-year player out of Furman. Jake Tonjes was active for a few games last year, as was Braden Willis. They were also on the practice squad for a bit. Mason Pline on the practice squad all season. And Ross Dwelly took a 1-year sabbatical from San Francisco, went to Atlanta along with Charlie Werner. Both, I believe, got released, and Ross Dwelly is back with the team, and he is going to be your tight end 3. I think it rounds out the tight end room having George Kittle, who is elite at as receiving and pass blocking. Luke Farrell, who is more of the blocker or the receiver, and Ross Dwelly becomes more of the receiver than the blocker. This was a position that I thought the Niners would draft someone in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round this year as a developmental tight end 3. I thought it was a perfect situation because you still have Kittle locked up for 4 years. You have Luke Farrell locked up for 3 years. And to have a rookie come in, essentially a 4-year contract, to learn and grow from 2 veteran tight ends, I thought would have made some sense. You're getting more immediate productivity, even though he doesn't catch a lot of passes, but at least veteran know-how from a Ross Dwelly than a rookie or anyone else on the roster. Jake Tonjes, Braden Willis, or Mason Pline. I envision 2 of those 3 being on the practice squad. Left guard, really the only battle for a starting spot, and that's going to come between Spencer Burford, Nick Sakiel, Ben Barch, Matt Hennessy, Connor Colby, the rookie out of Iowa, and Drew Moss, the undrafted rookie out of Colorado State. Now let's start off with Spencer Burford. I think he is going to win the swing tackle spot, but I think that's a misnomer since Kyle Shanahan has carried 2 backup tackles each of the last 3 seasons. I think Austin Pleasance has a really good chance of winning the backup tackle spot to Trent Williams, and Spencer Burford is going to be the backup tackle to Colton McKivitz. And if you'll remember, when Jalen Moore was the swing tackle, he really was only backing up Trent Williams when he missed time. Colton McKivitz has been relatively healthy, but when Spencer Burford has had to come in, namely the Raven game on Christmas night 2 years ago, he filled in at right tackle for McKivitz. And that game, that line was totally blown up. It was a bad game all around. Obviously, Purdy throwing 4-5 picks, however many it was. Burford got more run at right guard, alternating with Daniel Brunskill his rookie year, and John Feliciano in 2023 was relegated to the bench essentially last year, but did play some spot duty. Nick Sakiel going into his 4th year from Fordham, tried him out at center, wasn't going to work, was a tackle in college, that wasn't going to work. Can play either interior guard spot, so there's potential there. Ben Barch on the team last year, started a couple of games, showed out well, injured at the end of the season, is injured in this offseason, had a quad strain, but per Kyle Shanahan should be ready within a couple days. Matt Hennessy was signed from the Atlanta Falcons practice squad, thought to be competition for Jake Brendel at center. That is not the case, at least per Kyle Shanahan. But if an injury happens to Brendel and Hennessy plays really well and run with it, it could be a Dominic Pooney part 2 situation, but provides depth along all 3 interior spots. And then the 2 rookies, Connor Colby and Drew Moss, they're fighting for a roster spot. And if you want to say Connor Colby has a leg up because he was drafted and Drew Moss wasn't, that's fine. Whoever doesn't make the team is going to end up on the practice squad, but I can't imagine either one of these players outside of injury really pushing to start week 1. I think it's going to be Ben Barch. I think what they saw last year showed promise, experience in the system. I mean, so does Burford, but I think, again, he's going to be looked at more as a tackle, a swing tackle, but he can play inside in a pinch. Nick Sakiel has shown throughout 3 years what he can do. And if he was in the running to be, let's say, a left guard this year or a starting caliber guard, it would have happened last year and he wasn't able to beat Dominic Pooney out. So I think it's Ben Barch's job to lose. He just has to stay healthy. And Matt Hennessy, I think, provides valuable backup depth at either guard spot or center. And I think he's pretty safe to make the roster, or I could envision him making the roster as well. But I think left guard is going to go to Ben Barch. Now, wide receiver, we're going to call this wide receiver 3, guys. And that is with the knowledge that Brandon Ayuk will not be ready until October at the earliest. Per John Lynch, there is no concrete timetable for Brandon Ayuk's return. People are going to take that as, oh my God, he's so behind. Remember, he did tear 2 ligaments in his knee. He was out there in OTAs lightly running routes. To come back day 1 and to say, yeah, we're aiming for Ayuk to be ready by X date is just going to cause the fans to be in an uproar. You know, there could be setbacks in rehabilitation. Why should the Niners, Kyle or John, really paint themselves into a corner like that? Now, I think it was either Kyle or John or media reports saying that it's not outside the realm of possibility that Ayuk is ready for week 1, or maybe that was Malik Mustafa. I apologize if I'm getting that confused, but I always thought Ayuk starts on the PUP list, out for the first 4 weeks. Then they give him 3 weeks to practice in October and probably comes back end of October, or they start him off on full-fledged IR and then just bring him back at whatever point. And Demarcus Robinson came over from the Rams. John Lynch was asked about his DUI situation, kind of danced around the answer. Essentially, the question was, when are you going to hear from the NFL about the situation with Demarcus Robinson? And he danced around that completely. Let's just assume he's out for 3 games. So first 3 games of the season, no Ayuk and Robinson. I'm going to assume that Juwan Jennings, the contract situation, either goes away, gets figured out, and he gets a pay bump, maybe from $7.5 million to maybe $9 million, or they guarantee some of the money in that 7.5, or he does get extended, because the extension for Juwan Jennings, say he gets maybe $12 or $13 million a year. That's still not bad in terms of financial asset allocation to your receivers. Ayuk getting 30, let's say Jennings gets 13. Ricky Pearsall, yeah, they used a first-round draft pick on him, but he's still only making between $4 and $5 million. It's not a lot. Demarcus Robinson's making around the same amount. The Niners need depth at receiver, which is why Robinson came in. Of course, Debo went out, so you want to bring in someone that can replicate those numbers, at least from a receiving standpoint. I think between Robinson and Pearsall and Jennings can, and when Ayuk gets healthy, fully healthy, won't be until 2026. I think he will be okay as well. But the starters week 1, I'm going to assume, are Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. So that means the battle for wide receiver 3 for the first 3 weeks in September. Jacob Cowing versus rookie Jordan Watkins versus Isaiah Hodgins versus Russell Gage. Now, there are other receivers on the roster. Training camp hero was it Isaiah Nair out of Nebraska. You have Tariq Owens. You have Knowles, and younger players that I just don't think. I don't think they're going to make the roster, let alone be wide receiver 3 on week 1. So it's not worth being the discussion. Junior Bergen drafted in the 7th round, more of a returner. There's something interesting about the idea of Jacob Cowing being wide receiver 3, a smaller, more traditional slot guy. You think of like a Danny Amendola, Julian Edelman, smaller guy, right? Maybe not as small as Jacob Cowing, but someone that's a bit shiftier in the slot. Now, Jordan Watkins, a rookie, 5th round pick. Yes, Kyle has played rookie receivers, and Debo as a 2nd round pick. Ayuk started as a 1st round pick, but generally speaking, it takes injuries or something to happen for Kyle to be comfortable playing a rookie. I don't think, even though the Niners don't go 3 wide as often as other teams, that wide receiver 3 is going to get a lot of snaps. And I don't think Jordan Watkins is that player. But the idea of a veteran, either Isaiah Hodgins, formerly of the Giants, Russell Gage, formerly of the Bucks, rehabbed a patellar tendon tear from 2023, rehabbed it last year, was on the Niners practice squad, and he is a viable candidate as well. I've been talking Isaiah Hodgins for a couple weeks, if not a couple months, say a couple months now, and I see in this scenario Jennings and Pearsall being your 1, 2 in whatever order, and Isaiah Hodgins being your number 3, because he still fills in that idea of a big slot. 6'3", just like Juwan Jennings, about 10 pounds lighter, but it also gives another veteran presence on the field for an offense that's laden with veterans, right? Purdy's going to his 4th year, McCaffrey his 8th, Kittle going to his 9th. You have Trent Williams, Jennings his 5th or 6th year, Pearsall's his 2nd year. So to load up another young receiver with Ricky Pearsall, again, I'm not going to say, oh, young, you can't do it. Young players, you can't do it. But I do think going through the fires of being an NFL player, being an NFL veteran, having a skill set similar to what Juwan Jennings brought in the slot. And there could be some in this 3 wide receiver set, some alignments where Jennings plays inside and Hodgins plays outside. And I wouldn't be surprised if Russell Gage, again, if the knee and the patellar tendon, everything looks good, that he could make that jump to be wide receiver 3 for the first 3 weeks of the season. I just don't see a younger. Now, I want to see Jacob Cowing get snaps. I want to see him use his speed. I want to see that quick twitch ability in this offense, and that take the top off the defense speed being used, because he wasn't used hardly at all last year. And no one on the planet can convince me that someone like a Sean McVay or an Andy Reid would have buried Jacob Cowing the way that, I'm not going to say Kyle buried him, but that he was buried on the 49ers roster. So I wouldn't be shocked if Cowing, I'm encouraged. I'm applauding Cowing and rooting for him to get more snaps. If it's a wide receiver 3 role, something that prominent, I'm not too sure. But the Debo Samuel plays should not go away just because Debo Samuel went away. Jacob Cowing is someone, although smaller and not as powerful as a runner, faster than Debo Samuel, just as agile. Heck, he's in the punt return, kick return mix. That means he's good with the ball in open space. Get him the ball on a tunnel screen or a wide receiver screen, jet sweep, and let him go to it. But I think Jennings, Pearsall, and Hodgins will be your 3 wide receivers starting week 1 at Seattle. Now let's transition to defense. The first battle, defensive end number 2, meaning starting defensive end on base downs. And again, it's to start week 1 at Seattle. We have Yetur Gross-Matos, rookie Michael Williams, Sam O. We'll throw Robert Beal in there, and Bryce Huff I'm not including as a base down DN because he's going to be your third down pass rush specialist. I think of those four players. I think Samo is a player that if they go 5 defensive ends, he makes the team. But I think giving the nod again initially of a veteran like Yetur Gross-Matos over Michael Williams, built as the same sort of player, right? Big 6'5" players, 265, pushing 270, more of an edge setter than a pass rusher. And obviously you have Nick Bosa opposite that. There's going to be so many moving parts early on with the defense. And Robert Saleh is going to do a great job getting everybody excited and involved and prepared. And I don't think it's a situation where you want to minimize how many rookies you have on the field, because if a rookie is the best option, a rookie should play. But I think it's not wanting to overload, your young pups too soon. And just because Yetur starts doesn't mean Michael Williams doesn't get 25 or 30 snaps, right? So I'm just saying, to start out the year, I could see Yetur being that starting defensive end. And Michael might be the one who comes in to spell Bosa. And Bryce Huff comes in to spell Yetur Gross-Matos. They might be your third down rushers on some drives if Bosa's gassed. And I could see Robert Saleh wanting to keep the DNs fresh, which is why I think there's a good possibility that 5 DNs make the 53-man roster for week 1. Defensive tackles, both T-tackle 1 and 2 are up for grabs. Now, they only have 7 defensive tackles in camp. Let's go over them. Alfred Collins and CJ West, the rookies. Evan Anderson, Kevin Givens, Jordan Elliott, Kalia Davis, and undrafted rookie free agent Sebastian Valdez out of Washington. I think the starters here are going to be Alfred Collins. I mean, he was a second-round pick for a reason. Although when you look at how much he played or did not play at Texas, that should draw not a cause for concern, but just raise eyebrows. He was in Texas for 5 years, only started his senior year, and then played, a handful of games throughout the other 4 seasons. Was not, a dominant force on the line. Big dude, right? 6'5", 335. Going to clog up the middle, which is what the Niners need after the run defense was so bad last year. But I can see him starting. CJ West, it's interesting. He's more of the body type for an early down player, right? He's more of the nose tackle, the DJ Jones, the Kalia Davis type of player, like 6'1", 6'2", 320. So I can make an argument of West starting over Collins, given the body type and what he excels at. More run defense than pass rush. I mean, Alfred Collins is going to maybe potentially eat up blockers more, but I don't see a world where both rookies are starting. Evan Anderson, nice story last year. I think a good rotational player. Kevin Givens is going to be on the roster. He's a roster lock. His a little over $2 million is fully guaranteed. If he gets released, that tacks on another $800,000. So it would be about a $2.9 million cap hit if the Niners were to release him. And with that guarantee money, I think he's safe to make the team. I think Jordan Elliott winds up being the starter. And again, here, this is me just hedging bets. Having a veteran in Jordan Elliott might not be an all-world, all-pro, Pro Bowl player, but you have your veteran playing next to your rookie, and then you have your rotations of another rookie in West, a second-year player in Anderson. Is it a 5th or 6th-year player in Kevin Givens who's going to make the team? Kalia Davis, potential to make the team. I don't know how many defensive tackles the Niners are going to take. I would love for them to take 5 DNs and 5 D tackles. The D-line was that bad last year. They started off last year with 9. I thought it was 8, but 9 on the D-line. I would love to see them go 10 if they can afford taking a body away from another position. Valdez can end up in the practice squad. Kalia Davis can end up on the practice squad, but there is a world or a situation where Jordan Elliott doesn't make the team. And that's because if he's released, they save $2.9 million in cap space. Now, the Niners already have mid-40s, but every $1 million in cap space going forward is going to help. They are a top 10 salary cap team in salary cap space this year. They're a bottom 10 team next year. A lot of contracts start ballooning in terms of cap space. So I would love to see the Niners roll over at least $35 million into next year to get them back into, I think they have maybe $8 million in cap space, into the low to mid 40s for 2026. Now, if Jordan Elliott does get cut, then I can see someone like a Kevin Givens starting. Again, he's a roster lock, and he adds a little bit something different, a smaller D end, 6'2", 290, not huge, but more of a penetrator. So you combine that with either Alfred Collins and his size and CJ West, his size and nose tackle ability. I just don't see, again, at least early on, two rookies starting at D tackle for the Niners. Now, linebacker, who's going to start next to Fred Warner? It's not just linebacker too. The Niners play so much nickel. The whole league plays so much nickel that you don't generally have three linebackers on the field as much as you have three cornerbacks, but it is going to be linebacker 2 and linebacker 3. Candidates: Nick Martin, rookie; D Winters in his third year; Tatum Bethune, second year out of Florida State; Luke Gifford, brought over from the Titans; and Chaz Surratt, brought over from, it was either the Jets or the Vikings, more of a special teams player. I think Luke Gifford or Chaz Surratt make the team at linebacker for special teams ability. And of the two, I'd probably give the nod to Luke Gifford. Chaz Surratt was more of a late get. Doesn't mean he can't beat people out, but I would just give Luke Gifford the nod. And I think Tatum Bethune makes the team as well. I think linebackers 2 and 3 in this order are going to be D Winters and Nick Martin. D Winters, for the sole reason that he's been in the system. He's familiar with what's expected. His playing time has increased in his first 2 years. He's going into year 3. He needs to stay healthy. Nick Martin got injured last year at Oklahoma State. He also needs to stay healthy. But I think Warner, obviously, Winters as your number 2 and Martin as your number 3, and smaller linebackers, right? Fred Warner is about 6'3". Both Winters and Martin are under 6 feet tall. Doesn't matter. I mean, you're not going to ask them to cover, tight ends against jump balls in the end zone or anything like that. But in terms of sideline to sideline, run fast, hit hard type of linebackers, instinctual, I think those are going to be the top 3. And it'll be interesting to see if the Niners carry 5 or 6 linebackers on their 53 week 1 roster. Cornerback 3. Now, this is an interesting one because cornerback 3, you're obviously behind Demo and Renardo Green, but cornerback 3 could either play the outside or the slot, right? And it depends on who that cornerback is as cornerback 3 and how that shuffles Demo from the outside to the inside. So your options: third-year player Darrell Luter, rookie Upton Stout, Trey Brown signed from the Seattle Seahawks, and Ciaran Neal signed from the Miami Dolphins. There are other cornerbacks on the roster, but I don't think they're really in the mix for tight end 3. Darrell Luter, most famous, unfortunately, for the punt return fumble off his foot in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs. Bigger corner, 6'1", built more like a Charvarius Ward. Should he win a role as a quote-unquote starting cornerback, a third cornerback, he would be playing more the outside. Upton Stout, 5'8", 5'9" player out of Western Kentucky, feisty, fluid, sticky, solely an inside player. So if he wins that position, he plays the nickel. Demo plays outside. Demo's been on record saying he enjoys playing inside because you're near the linebackers, you're near Fred Warner, you get to hear the communication more quickly, and that's where he's played most of his snaps and made his hay and made his money. But he's obviously a very good, we'll say, a top 10, top 12 corner in the league that can play outside as well. Trey Brown, another, not huge corner, 5'10", but has played outside and inside with Seattle. And Ciaran Neal, brought over mainly for special teams from the Dolphins, but I could see him being, maybe that 5th or 6th cornerback on the roster. If there's multiple injuries, he would see the field, but mainly for special teams. Now, those 3 before Ciaran Neal, Darrell Luter, Upton Stout, and Trey Brown, I'm going to go with Trey Brown. Trey Brown has done it in the league for Seattle. He has played well when called upon. He's not a lockdown, shutdown corner, but Trey Brown gives the Niners and Robert Saleh an option of where to best put Deommodore Lenoir, and that could vary week to week based on matchups against opposing receivers. Upton Stout, I think, in time will become that slot corner, that Quan Williams that a lot of people have compared him to. And comparisons are always funny for rookies when they've done nothing in the NFL, and you're really just comparing people based on measurables, height, weight, speed, position, etc. I think it's Trey Brown's job to start the season. Injury, performance, but I think it could be ultimately Upton Stout's job long term. Would I be completely surprised if he wins the slot corner role and pushes Demo outside? No. I think it's going to come down to what's your best combination of your top three. Is it Demo inside with Trey Brown outside, or Demo outside with a rookie like Upton Stout inside? I think that's where Upton Stout's going to have a leg up over Trey Brown, given the amount of snaps Stout played in the slot in college. We'll give it to Trey Brown for now. Both safety spots. Now, Malik Mustafa injured, not going to come back. Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch basically lumped all of the ACL folks together. Malik Mustafa, Brandon Ayuk, and Curtis Rourke, rookie quarterback out of Indiana, saying that they're all going to be ready, the first half of the season. And I don't think the first half of the season means week 2. I think the first half of the season means sometime in October, maybe beginning of November for someone like Brandon Ayuk. But at safety, you have Jair Brown, Richie Grant, who came over in free agency from the Falcons, Jason Pinnock, free agent from the Giants, Marquez Siegel, rookie out of Kansas State, and Jalen Mahoney, second-year player out of Vanderbilt. I know a lot of people don't like Jair Brown. He had a better rookie season than he did second year, picked off Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl. A drive that started the second half that the Niners promptly did nothing with because they went pass, punt, and not give it to the offensive player of the year in Christian McCaffrey. But I think Jair Brown is penciled in as one of the starters. Now, George Odom got released earlier this week or end of last week. And to me, his roster spot was tenuous, and it was always going to be between George Odom and Richie Grant because they're not starting safety caliber players. They are backups. They are more special teams players. And if George Odom is a holdover from the old special teams coaching staff, and Richie Grant came in, I don't want to say he was handpicked by Brian Boyer, but came in this year under this regime, that he would have had the leg up, and that did come to pass. Richie Grant is still on the roster. He's not going to be a starter. I don't think Marquise Siegel, it's not fair to expect someone, I'll say because he's a 5th round pick, but with the potential of there being a rookie at D tackle, Michael Williams is going to get significant snaps at D end. Who knows if Nick Martin wins that linebacker 2 spot, but he's going to get, snaps at linebacker 3. And then whatever happens with Upton Stout in the secondary. I think Marquez Siegel is I think he's a backup player that could push for a starting role next year. And Jalen Mahoney, I think, is a nice depth piece. Should he make the 53, but he's probably destined for the practice squad. So to me, it's going to be Jair Brown and Jason Pinnock as the starters at safety. And Jason Pinnock is my ultimate player to keep your eye on. A lot of people are sleeping on him. A lot of people are hoping the Niners go out there and sign a safety like a Justin Simmons or a Julian Blackmon, formerly of the Colts, if he's even still available. Free agent-wise, I'm not sure. I apologize. But I think someone like a Jason Pinnock started 2.5 years with the Giants, played his rookie year with the Jets, familiar with Robert Saleh, familiar with the system, bigger safety, can play in the box, can play single high. I think he's a nice compliment to Jair Brown and another veteran presence in the secondary as the Niners get reacclimated to whatever Robert Saleh is going to bring, any cover 3 and wide 9 tweaks from the Jets, but also a lot of new players are going to be in and out of the lineup on defense. And then at some point, Malik Mustafa is going to come back, and then we'll see if Jair Brown or Jason Pinnock, goes to the bench. So those are your positional battle wins on defense. Last but not least, special teams. Let's start with punt returner, and it is Jacob Cowing versus rookie Junior Bergen, one of the last picks in the entire draft from Montana, brought in mainly to be a special teams player. Jacob Cowing last year was okay as a punt returner. His footing was less than ideal. He slipped a handful of times. I think there might have been one fumble that he recovered himself or might have gone out of bounds. Has the ability, has the juice. And even someone like a Ricky Pearsall might be back there every now and again taking, punt return snaps. Remember, back in the 80s and 90s, that was John Taylor's job, in addition to being wide receiver too, alongside Jerry Rice. But Junior Bergen, brought in, now a 7th round pick is much different than, hell, say even a 4th or 5th round pick, obviously, just in terms of potential job security. Junior Bergen is the ultimate, hey, let's take a flyer and see what he can do. And if he shows out ridiculously well, I mean, I'm not sure how many punt returns, kick returns are happening in training camp versus, let's say, maybe a joint practice and certainly preseason games. If he shows out in preseason games, it might be really hard to keep him off the roster. But I think the 49ers have such a curious logjam at receiver, especially to start the year with Ayuk out and Demarcus Robinson probably out, meaning that they're going to need 6 on the roster, but you have to hold a spot for Robinson unless he's going to get some sort of an exemption due to his suspension. That if it's Jennings, Pearsall, Jordan Watkins is definitely going to make the team as a 5th round draft pick. Jacob Cowing is going to make the team. And I, have Isaiah Hodgins, I declared or proclaimed as wide receiver 3 to start week 1 at Seattle. I don't know if another young player makes the team. And if Junior Bergen makes the team, say as wide receiver 6, that means he has to be active as your punt returner. Then are you deactivating Jordan Watkins? Someone who could help out more at receiver versus the maybe 5 opportunities Junior Bergen's going to get to be a punt returner. Again, now if he's fantastic and electric and turns into the next Devin Hester or Dante Hall, fantastic. Then you have to put him on the field. But to start the year, I think someone like Junior Bergen, again, as long as he doesn't show out and return 3 punts in the preseason, he's someone that's a safe stash on the practice squad for now. So I can see Jacob Cowing remaining the punt returner week 1 at Seattle. And place kicker, last but not least, it is Jake Moody, the incumbent, versus the challenger, Greg Joseph. We all know the issues with Jake Moody the past 2 years. Now, Jake Moody was really good before the ankle injury and really bad after it. Greg Joseph, above average kicker throughout his career with the Vikings and Giants, among other teams. Jake Moody in the offseason has altered his approach. He has a shorter approach now. We'll see if that helps. His approach was fine before the ankle injury. And if he was not ready to go and still feeling some lingering effects, of the injury that he sustained, he should not have been out there. And they should have pulled the plug on Jake Moody earlier once he started shanking and missing, just to sit him down, put him. I mean, you could just lie to all of us and say, we had to put him back on IR. He aggravated his ankle. His season's over. And then just let him think, or, just let him think, but get stuff out of his head. Let everything kind of calm down a bit. I think Jake Moody wins the job, guys. We've all heard he's good in practice. We'll see how everybody does in game situations. But I am a big proponent this year that if Jake Moody wins, even if Jake Moody loses the kicking competition, I want to see a kicker on the practice squad. There are 16 spots on the practice squad. Remember, 6 can go to players with more than 2 years of NFL experience. 10 positions go to them. 6 go to younger players, a rookie, a first-year player, or someone with no more than 2 years accrued. Now, maybe it's just as easy to bench, Jake Moody or Greg Joseph midweek and bring someone else in, but there's 16 slots. How many slots? You could look at any team's practice squad any season, and there's a handful of players that even if the earth opens up and swallows half the offense or defense, certain players are just not going to see the 53-man roster. Why not have, to me, I'd rather have another kicker on the roster than Tariq Owens. I don't care that he's Terrell Owens' son. He's certainly not going to make the 53. He didn't play a lot of football in high school. I don't care about, there's no nepotism here, that the name factor isn't going to get him on the field. I'm not rooting against him, but between that and Isaiah Nair and some of these, young players or players anywhere, defense, offense, you can look at a practice squad and go, there is no reason why this player should be on a practice squad. I would rather have another kicker just in case you want to make that switch. You can. But I think the ultimate interesting position that we only talked about at the start is quarterback, because keeping 3 quarterbacks on the roster is going to pull another player away from a certain position. And Kyle Shanahan was shell-shocked from the NFC Championship game against Philadelphia a couple of years ago. He's had 3 quarterbacks on the roster in 2023 and 2024. We saw how many quarterbacks they went through last year. Everybody got playing time except for Tanner Mordecai as the emergency number 3. But if you just roll in with Brock Purdy and Matt Jones, and Mordecai is on your practice squad, that means you could have another linebacker, another safety, another receiver, at least maybe for the initial month of the season, another defensive lineman, a player that has a much better chance, probability-wise, of seeing the field than a quarterback 3. They should make a rule, and they're not going to, that you can elevate up to 3 players on the practice squad, one of which could be a quarterback, and that does not count against your 53-man roster. The reason why they're not going to do that, or the NFLPA will fight against that, is doing that instead of having the quarterback on the 53-man roster all season, less money in that quarterback's pocket. I get it. I'm just curious. Maybe not everybody is, but I'm curious to see the route that Shanahan goes, because Tanner Mordecai is the answer to, or the key to, having or not having a 10th D lineman, a 6th linebacker, maybe a 4th tight end if you want to go that route, which I don't think they really should go that route, a 6th receiver. Tanner Mordecai being in the roster very well may mean someone like a Junior Bergen is not. A punt returner who could have much more of an impact on each game than Tanner Mordecai could. But a whole lot to come. I'm recording this, like I said, on July 22nd. Training camp kicking off. We're going to get into joint practices and preseason games within the next couple weeks. Super excited that football's back. I am sure you are as well. I will definitely be doing weekly updates, if not more than once a week, based on what's going on in training camp. But I do want to just preach moderation and taking everything with a grain of salt. Just because someone looks great in training camp, a rookie, an undrafted rookie free agent, a training camp hero, as I like to call them, let's get excited for the season, right? Let's get excited. But I would say let's not get too high or too low based on anything that happens to any one player in any one practice or even a couple practices. Everybody's knocking the rust off. I mean, Christ, think about how bad the NFL looks the first 2-3 weeks of the season, because nobody plays in preseason games. As much as anyone wants to say practice and joint practice helps, it's not the same as more live bullets flying around in preseason games than anything that's going on training camp field. So everybody's knocking the rust off. Everybody's going to look a little iffy at times. I'm sure there's going to be tweaked muscles, hamstrings in the heat of the summer, soft tissue injuries. We just have to hope everything is minor. And someone like a Ricky Pearsall and a Ben Barch coming back soon. And in Kyle Shanahan's words, didn't want to have somebody just come back from being away for 40 days and throw them into practice day one. Let's give them 3 days. Let's see what the conditioning is going to look like. Let's see how the doctors, evaluating everything. We're sure they're okay, but we're not going to just throw them into the fire. So training camp kicking off in full swing. More to come. Weekly updates upcoming. Hopefully you will be on the pulse of everything training camp, as I will. And if not, I will be here to fill you in. Whatever you are doing between now and we speak again next week, stay happy, healthy, and safe, and we will talk soon. Take care.